I am absolutely enraged right now. We need to come together. We need to stop bickering. We need to remember that united we stand. United we stand, united we win. Divided we fall. Okay, Panorama last night. Who watching this is absolutely disgusted by what has come out on Panorama? It's nothing but a smear, a politically driven programme paid for by you and me, our state broadcaster, discrediting Her Majesty's opposition. And the state broadcaster and most of the mainstream media have been doing exactly the same thing for 3.5 years. And do you know why, guys? Do you know why? It's because they're scared, right? They know for the first time ever, right? For the first time ever, a genuine left-wing socialist government has got a real chance of coming to power. And they are scared, guys. They are petrified. But we need to stand up, okay? The fight is now just beginning, okay? Everything that's happened for the past 3 or 4 years, that was just a pretext for what's going to come now. They are going to chuck absolutely everything at Jeremy Corbyn and our movement until they destroy us or until we win and we change the system forever. So if you're with me, I want you to listen to this video and take action at the end. Now, the first thing that I want to say about this campaign is it's just not working. They have tried everything. Russian spies, anti-Semitism, turnips or marrows or whatever it is that Jeremy Corbyn's growing on his allotment. But it isn't working, it isn't sticking. The only time it works is when we start fighting amongst ourselves and we don't stand strong. But it doesn't mean that we don't need to push back. Okay, we can't just stand strong, we need to fight back. So after last night's Panorama programme, I decided to take a little bit of action. So what I decided to do was to actually ring up Ofcom. So Ofcom are the regulator that manage the compliance, the regulation, and enforce best practices across our media. Now, all of the media sits beneath Ofcom there, with exception to the BBC. So today I went on James O'Brien's splendid programme where he asked people, labour movers, cultists, fanatics, he said, to call up, make your voices known, make the case for Labour. So what did I do? I called up. Before I'd even started speaking, he was on the offensive. I literally couldn't get a word in edgeways. So I decided to actually give Ofcom a call today to raise this as a complaint about the way that I was treated and about the way that the media is completely biased and non-representative of our country right now. So I logged that complaint, and then at the same time I decided, you know what? I'm going to make a complaint about Panorama. Ofcom advised me that I was unable to make that complaint directly to the independent regulator. I actually have to make that complaint directly to the BBC themselves. Sounds a little bit like people marking their own homework, doesn't it? Well, let's get into the detail. So, the process is this. Number 1, report to the BBC. Okay? That's stage number 1. You report that to the BBC. Now, the BBC website, how many of you have actually reported any kind of issues to them before? Well, what you'll notice on the BBC website is you land on this page which is full of information, it's really complex, and then there's 3 different modus of operandum that you can actually apply or lodge your complaint. So, 1 is by post, slightly archaic, can't actually remember the last time I sent a complaint by the post, or ever, if ever. Number 2, you can do it in writing on their online form. And number 3, you can actually call in. So I decided for the purpose of actually speaking to a human being being able to express my complaint and maybe even getting some advice, I thought, you know what, the best approach for me would be to call in. So I called into the BBC today, and it's an 0370 number, or an 037, something along those lines. It wasn't free, it wasn't cheap. So I called in, and when I started speaking to them, they advised me that any complaint that I make to them verbally will not be taken as a complaint that they can respond to. I.e., if I make a complaint verbally, I'm pissing into the wind. So that didn't really sit right with me. So I started digging into this a little bit more, understanding the process. So the BBC, from the point that you make a complaint, they have 20 days in which to respond, right? 20 days. The way that the process works with the BBC is you make that complaint, and that complaint will go to management. So, we're talking about the Panorama programme that took place last night. That complaint that I've made verbally, which cannot be responded to, will be put onto something called the Audience Feedback Report, which is a report delivered to management and to senior directors of the BBC once every 2 weeks. So once every 2 weeks, the BBC will receive a nice report with everybody's complaints. And who does that go to? It goes to management. It goes to the very people that we're complaining about. Sorry, but where is the accountability there? Where is the fuck... Sorry, excuse my French. It ain't on. It needs to stop. It needs to change. And we need our voices heard. Anyway. So it takes... Excuse me. So, it takes 20 days for it to get through this process, or a maximum of 20 days, by which point you will receive some kind of feedback from the BBC. It could be a final resolution, could be an update on the process, whatever it may be. But they are in control for that 20-day period, okay? At this point, if you are unhappy with the response the BBC gives, okay, if you are unhappy with the homework that has been marked by the students, then you can then report it to Ofcom. So it's only at this point that you can actually start reporting it to Ofcom, to the independent regulator. So once it goes to Ofcom, the action that they may take could be fines, but from the representatives I spoke to today, the first port of call is actually just to ring in to the BBC and have a discussion. Ooh, I bet they're quaking in their boots. So this period here, so let's just remember, you can't complain to anybody independently until you give them an opportunity, which is a 20-day period. Now let me ask you a question. How long do you think we have to raise a complaint to Ofcom if we are unhappy? From the end of this 20-day period, how long do you think we have? I'll tell you. You got 7 days. That's 5 working days. Okay? So, you can't make a complaint independently. You have to go to the people that you're complaining about. They have complete carte blanche as to how they respond. They have 20 days to respond. And then if you don't like the response they give you, you then only have 7 days to report the complaint. At which point, you've got no rights. No rights whatsoever. So today what I tried to do, because I work in technology, I've actually pulled together some data and analytics, looking at the patterns of panellists, the news reports, essentially trying to document and work out whether there is a proven scientific link to bias reporting on the BBC, or whether this is all hearsay and opinion. I've got some really interesting facts that I'll make and I'll explore with you in video 2. But just focusing today, when I tried to report these facts, do you know what they said to me? They said, we are only able to take complaints about a specific programme on a specific date. So I'm here with a body of evidence trying to provide some clarity and support that may enable them to identify the biased reporting that the BBC is actively engaged in. But I'm not even able to submit a pattern of data which shows that over 3.5 years the Labour Party and specifically Jeremy Corbyn have been smeared, benigned, dismissed, and essentially democracy is being compromised by the state broadcaster. The broadcaster that if you and I do not pay our TV licence for, we will be thrown in prison. Okay? It's not on. It's not right. It's not how it should be. So we're not even addressing the actual problems of the bias reporting at the moment. What we're looking at is the process in which we are actually able to report our concerns to the media. Now, the BBC could be a wonderful organisation, but unfortunately at the moment you're letting us down, BBC. Whether it's Politics Live, using polls from the likes of The Times and YouGov, basing a whole week of stories on the fact that Jeremy Corbyn apparently has the lowest approval rating, and apparently civil service members are briefing The Times and other members of the press that he's had a stroke. He's unfit to do his job because he's had a stroke. It's a lie. How dare you? How dare you broadcast this on the state broadcast platform that we pay for? How dare you? No longer are we going to stand for this biased reporting. Okay? Now you need to fix your processes. You need to take notice. There's a movement going on. There's 500,000 people that joined the Labour Party because for the first time ever, we felt that politics was going to represent us. Right? Life is not about the 1%. It's about the 99%. Right? We want to live in a free society where people are able to express themselves creatively, where homeless veterans don't come back from Iraq and have to sleep on the streets because there's no care for them, where waiting lists in hospitals actually achieve their targets for the first time ever, where politicians like Boris Johnson, who refer to black people as pickaninnies, are actually held to account. Panorama did a 30-minute documentary on the road to number 10 this week. That's 2 weeks before a new Prime Minister is going to be ordained by 160,000, 92% of which are classified racist Islamophobes, right? 92% of that party are literally racist Islamophobes. Look at the polls. Look what's come out in the reports over the last couple of weeks. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. Okay? We're going to take over this. We're not going to allow you to dispel misinformation to the masses anymore. Okay? I'm not the most knowledgeable person in the world. You know, I couldn't necessarily win a debate with every single person on every single topic, but I tell you what I do have, and that is passion. And that is belief. Right? I believe that we can have a better society. I believe that we don't need to live this way anymore. I believe that we are on the cusp of a revolution that never before in Western society has been so close to catch. And I'm passionate about the beliefs and the convictions of people like Jeremy Corbyn, of John McDonnell, of Laura Piddock. Come on, Laura! We want a deputy leader of the Labour Party that actually cares about the people, not some guy that's there just as some self-serving politician to push weird agendas about how everybody in his party are anti-Semitic. No, they're not, Tom. No, they're not. They're up in arms about what's gone on in Palestine for the past 50, 60, 70 years. And the problem is any time that these people say anything in support of the Palestinian people, they're branded as anti-Semites because you want to classify anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism. They're two very different things. Anti-Zionism, a political movement invented around the 1820s, 1830s by evangelical Christians, racist, anti-Semite, evangelical Christians, right? They're the people who started that. Judaism has been around for 3,000 years. It's an ancient religion. Okay, we are entitled to question the legitimacy of how the Zionist Israeli government operates and their brutal oppression of the Palestinians. Okay, there's a whole people, there's a whole country which has been decimated, destroyed. I remember when I was a kid, my mum used to take me to the South African riots and demonstrations and blah blah blah. To be honest, at the time I didn't really get it, I didn't understand it. But I do remember one thing. I do remember back in those days, my mum was a little bit different. People probably thought she was a bit weird because she thought that these radical ideas of liberating apartheid in South Africa was a good thing to do. But she stuck with her convictions. And then history has proven that it was right. Oppressing an entire people just because of their ethnicity or the colour of their skin is wrong. Now, we're never going to solve the Israel-Palestine debate here in England on our own in a few conversations, but we've got to work towards finding reconciliation. You can't keep smearing everybody that is hammering this point home about the oppression, the inequality. You can't keep hammering these people as anti-Semites. You have to reach out your hands and go, look, alright guys, we do get where you're coming from. Some of you sometimes make some mistakes and you slip into anti-Semitic tropes because you don't know better. But it's coming from the right place. People aren't out and out racist. People don't just hate Jewish people. Right? Half my partner's family are Jewish. Right? And we love Jeremy Corbyn. Okay? The Jewish community isn't one group of people. Okay? It's a multi-dimensional community. Okay? And not everybody in it thinks that Jeremy Corbyn is an anti-Semite or that the Labour Party are institutionally racist. So, look guys, my call to action for you is this, okay? Please, I want every single one of you that's watching this video, and this is so important, you have to be aware of this process, okay? You can only submit a complaint in writing, and it takes 20 days. If you don't get an adequate response within 20 days, at that point you're then allowed to go to Ofcom, okay? When you go to Ofcom, you've only got a 7-day window in which to go to Ofcom after waiting for that time period with the BBC to lapse. So you need to keep those dates in your mind. You need to be really clear. But every single person that cares about a socialist democracy, that cares about an equal society, that cares about a Labour government, that wants to see Jeremy Corbyn, John McDonnell in power, delivering these policies that we've dreamt of our whole lifetimes, we need to start holding the BBC to account. And the only way that we can do this is by registering our complaints, right? Let's not let go of let's not let go of the sight which is just in front of us, which is that dream of an equal society. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say. First video, Lee from Swindon, love you all. Get the Tories out. Let's make Labour big, and never take your eyes off the prize, guys, because it's so close. I love you. Mwah. Bye.